You know what's crazy? A few years ago, WWE felt untouchable. The company was hotter than it had been in years. Crowd was electric. Storylines mattered again. Talent finally looked motivated. Fans actually believed WWE was heading into a new golden era. And then, TKO happened. Now, suddenly, WWE talent are getting released left and right. Morale backstage reportedly feels shaky. Wrestlers are allegedly taking massive pay cuts. AI is being discussed for creative. And storylines feel colder. Promos feel scripted again. And the product somehow feels less human than ever before. And the worst part, TKO keeps making more money while the actual wrestling product keeps getting worse. This isn't just about bad booking. This is about corporate greed slowly sucking the soul out of professional wrestling. And if things keep going in this direction, WWE may become financially successful while creatively collapsing at the same time. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today we need to talk about the elephant in the room. How TKO is ruining WWE. And honestly, modern wrestling as a whole. Because the warning signs are everywhere now, and fans are finally starting to notice. One of the biggest problems with WWE right now is that the company no longer feels like it's being run by wrestling people. It feels like it's being run by executives. Everything now feels designed for shareholders, quarterly earnings, sponsorship deals, corporate partnerships, brand safety, and social media clips. Not for actual wrestling fans. And listen, there's nothing wrong with WWE making money. That's not the issue here. The issue is when maximizing profit becomes more important than making a great product. Because eventually, the audience notices. And right now, fans notice everything. They notice the repetitive booking. They notice the lack of long-term storytelling. They notice wrestlers disappearing for months with no explanation. They notice talent getting cold because creative has no direction at all. And they definitely notice when the company treats wrestlers like replaceable assets instead of stars. That's the biggest difference between old WWE and current TKO era WWE. Old WWE wanted superstars. TKO wants content generators. That's why so much of the product now feels manufactured. Nothing breathes anymore. Nothing feels organic. Everything feels optimized. And wrestling should never feel optimized. It should feel emotional, messy, passionate, and unpredictable. But modern WWE often feels like a boardroom trying to imitate wrestling instead of actual wrestling. Let's talk about the booking, because this is where fans are really getting frustrated. How many times have we seen distraction finishes, interference endings, rematches every single week, champions barely wrestling, random tag matches, and storylines dragged out for months with no payoff? It's become formalic, and fans are exhausted, man. Smackdown especially has become one of the clearest examples of this problem. 3 hours of television, and somehow only 20 minutes actually matter. You'll get endless recaps, commercials, filler backstage segments, repetitive promos, and matches that feel completely meaningless. And the problem isn't the talent. WWE has one of the most stacked rosters ever. The problem is the system. Because when every show is designed around ad revenue, sponsors, media obligations, and stretching content as long as possible, the actual wrestling suffers. That's why so many feuds feel artificially extended now. Not because the story needs more time, but because the company needs content. There is a huge difference, and fans can feel it immediately. Now let's get into one of the ugliest parts of the TKO era, the releases, because this has become a serious problem. Imagine being a wrestler right now. You work nonstop, you destroy your body, You travel constantly, you miss holidays, you sacrifice years of your life, and then one day, you're suddenly gone. No build-up, no warning, no real explanation, just released. And what makes it worse is how random some of these releases feel. Wrestlers get pushed, then disappear, then get cut. Others never even get a fair chance before they're gone. How far are fans supposed to invest emotionally in talent when WWE itself barely seems invested? That destroys trust. Not just backstage, but with the audience too, because fans stop caring when they believe anyone can vanish overnight. And morale matters way more than companies realize right now. A motivated locker room creates better wrestling. A fearful locker room creates safe wrestling. And right now, too much of WWE feels safe. Now here's where things start looking really bad publicly. The reports about talent allegedly taking major pay cuts while executives receive massive raises in the millions. And look, corporate executives making money isn't surprising. But perception matters, especially in wrestling, because fans see wrestlers as the heart of the industry. They're the ones risking injuries. They're the ones taking bumps. They're the ones fans pay to see. So when stories start circulating about talent making less while executives make millions more, it creates resentment immediately. And honestly, it makes WWE feel colder. It feels more corporate, more disconnected, because wrestling is supposed to feel built around the wrestlers, not shareholders. And once fans start feeling like wrestlers are just numbers on a spreadsheet, the emotional connection weakens. That's dangerous long term, very dangerous. And then we get to maybe the most dystopian part of all this, the AI conversations. The idea that artificial intelligence could help write storylines. I'm sorry, but wrestling is one of the last industries that should ever rely on AI creativity, because wrestling works when it feels human. Think about the greatest moments ever. D-Generation X invading WCW, Mick Foley winning the title, CM Punk dropping a pipe bomb, Roman Reigns becoming tribal chief, Cody Rhodes finishing the story. These moments worked because they came from emotion, real emotion. AI can imitate structure. It cannot imitate soul. And fans know the difference. That's why modern promos sometimes feel robotic already, man. Now imagine entire storylines created through algorithms trying to maximize engagement metrics. That sounds like less wrestling and more like content farming. And once wrestling loses authenticity, one of the reasons fans fall back in love with WWE recently was because things briefly felt more natural again. Promos felt looser. Characters felt more real. Talent sounded human. But lately, the overproduction is creeping back. You can feel it. Everything sounds overly rehearsed again. Everyone talks the same. Backstage segments feel sterile. Commentary sounds heavily corporate, and every wrestler now has to sound like they're reading from the same approved script template. And that's not how stars are created. Stars become stars when their personality breaks through. That's why fans connect with authenticity, not perfection. And honestly, TKO era WWE sometimes feel terrified of authenticity, because authenticity is unpredictable. Corporations hate unpredictability, but wrestling needs unpredictability. That tension is becoming one of the WWE's biggest creative problems right now. Another huge issue is nothing feels important anymore. PLEs happen constantly. Big matches happen constantly. Returns happen constantly. There's so much content now that fans barely have time to process anything emotionally. Moments used to breathe. Now, WWE immediately moves on to the next thing. And that creates burnout, especially when Raw is long. Smackdown is long. There are multiple PLEs, endless social media content, press conference, interviews, crossover appearances, documentaries, sponsorship integrations. It never stops, man. WWE has become a 24/7 content machine. And ironically, the more content they produce, the less meaningful individual moments become. Scarcity creates value. Overexposure kills it. And here's the thing TKO needs to understand. Wrestling fans are not stupid. They notice when the product gets colder, creativity declines, talent morale drops, or corporate influence becomes overwhelming. Fans tolerated bad WWE for years because they hoped things would improve. And for a while, they did improve. That's why the frustration now feels stronger, because fans saw what WWE could be, which makes the current direction even more disappointing. And slowly, you're starting to see more people emotionally disconnect from the product again. Not hate watch, not rage watch, just disconnect. That's way worse, because indifference kills wrestling faster than criticism ever will. And honestly, this conversation goes beyond WWE, because WWE influences the entire wrestling industry. When WWE becomes overly corporate, the industry shifts. When WWE prioritizes algorithm over creativity, the industry shifts. When WWE treats wrestling like disposable content instead of art, the industry shifts. That's why this matters so much, because wrestling at its best is magical. It creates memories people never forget. But wrestling only works when passion leads the business. The moment spreadsheets become more important than storytelling, you start losing the soul of the product. And that's exactly what fans are afraid is happening right now. Look, WWE is still capable of greatness. The roster is incredible, honestly. The fans are still passionate. The potential is absolutely there. But TKO needs to understand something fast. You cannot corporate strategy your way into making great wrestling. Great wrestling comes from risk, emotion, creativity, star power, and human connection. Not algorithms, not AI, not spreadsheets. And if WWE keeps moving further in this direction, they may continue making record profits while slowly destroying the very thing that made wrestling special in the first place. But that's just my opinion, man. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is TKO actually ruining WWE right now, or are fans overreacting? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.